And let's talk about education. Because the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition is calling for peace in areas plagued with conflict to ensure the protection of fundamental rights to education of children in these areas. Speaking at an event to mark International Day for Education, Chairman of GNECC, Kwesi Oyiye, stressed the need to safeguard the fundamental rights of children because education, according to him, is not a mere commodity. There's more in this report.
According to the United Nations, education is a human right, a public good, and a public responsibility. In light of this, it declared 24th January as International Day of Education in celebration of the role of education for peace and development. This year's commemoration is under the theme, Learning for Lasting Peace. It comes on the back of the reported cases of violence and incidents of insecurity in some communities across all over the world, including Ghana, which disrupted the peace needed to ensure the promotion of children's fundamental rights to education. Educationists believe there's a significant link between access to basic needs for learners and their personal development. This, they say, has hinged on peace. As Ghana enters an electioneering season, GNECC is advocating the right of every child to education devoid of any form of violence.
But for our initiative to create development around peace, we always ensure that learning outcomes are always achieved. And that is why I'm sure we have a lot of and the millions of dollars channeled into Gallup. But are we monitoring Gallup? If we are not doing that, we are bringing instability in the peace of education.
GNECC referenced recent happenings in Boko in the Upper East region and in Kwanta South in the Oti regions, where several lives have been lost as a result, leaving others with varying degrees of injuries. Some schools in both communities were shut down as a result, compelling children and teachers to stay away from the classroom. GNECC calls for tangible actions, urging state actors to prioritize a violence-free environment, ensuring that every child can safely access education.
Unfortunately, we have small pockets of conflict, which are ethnic conflicts that are affecting the continuous learning environment for our learners. And this does not augur very well with us. There are pockets of incidents that really emanate from the top processes, conversations that are discussed from politicians. And I'm saying this emphatically because experts within the security environment and educational environment have stated time without number that this problem can be resolved. In the case of Boku, over since 1960 thereabout till now, it can be resolved, and it is only government upon government that come each time that try to do a kind of cosmetic address of the issue. And therefore, if there is a judgment to that effect, which the Supreme Court has delivered, it is expected that all parties would yield to that.
The theme, Learning for Lasting Peace, is aimed at triggering national call for a collective effort to safeguarding the future of Ghana's children, and for that matter, the world at large. Karen Oppen's report, read to you.
And Mr. Kwesi Oyiye is the Greater Accra Regional Chair of GNECC. He's also the Senior Officer in Education and Professional Development Division with NAT, and he joins me here in the service. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So now that you are more interested in conflict areas and how that is impacting the lives of children who are of school-going age, let's start from Boko. What is your monitoring telling you?
Okay, so the intel that we are picking is that there is relative calmness within the school environment. So school sections are actually ongoing, and then the teachers are going to school, school children are going to school. But however, we want the security apparatus to intensify their intelligence in order to surmise any kind of incidents that will come from anywhere, because that is very important for the safe school environment and for the continuous study of these learners and their facilitators together.
I ask because we know that in Boko, for example, some state institutions, they've closed down their offices because of the insecurity situation there. Senate, this week, Small Arms Commission that they relocated all their staff to other parts of the country from Boko. We know that some banks, a lot of state institutions and private institutions, they've moved out of Boko because it is simply not safe to continue to stay there because of the conflict. Is it your understanding that in terms of schooling, it's not affected much?
Yes, so it's unfortunate in the first place for state institutions that provide service directly and indirectly to the community, and the learners and their facilitators are even leaving the children in the community. We have to know as a country that schools belong to communities, and the people who matter that try to inflict passion or cause violence or any form of aggression within the communities are also human beings that have grown right from toddler stage to adulthood. Incidentally, when they transit from one basic education to the secondary, and possibly for some of them, by the end of hard work or so, transit to the tertiary, they all come to work within the school environment. And these are the people that need to speak to peace and to ensure that there is relative peace within the school environment. Because you see, we want the school to be safe. Once the school is safe, teachers will be safe to work. Remember, teachers working in these environments are not indigenous from those areas alone. You have teachers that are coming from other parts of the country serving within this community. So it's very important to ensure that there is always total and quality peace within.
But do you have information that teachers are working or some have left?
So as we speak right now, our teachers are post, but we are saying that there should be improved security and intelligence on the ground to ensure that we do not have any form of conflict arising in the area, because that actually truncates educational development as we are talking about. We don't want to truncate the education of our young ones, because we have a policy that says that our children cannot wait. So if the children cannot wait each day, what it means is that they have to go to school to engage and be taught. And they have to grow through the process, develop. They need to be nurtured and taught. But in doing this, we need peace in order to ensure that this learning atmosphere is quite serene.
Beyond Boko, I know that sometimes there are reported cases of violence in other parts of the country. To what extent does this affect the total development of the Ghanaians, especially those that are caught up in these conflict areas?
So I'll once again come back to say that the school environment should be safe. It should be safe because our children belong to us in those communities. So those who try to fend passions of small pockets of violence are people that have also gone through the school environment, have gone through the confines of school. And we expect that they are able to control their passion, no matter what it is, either political, economic issues, or ethnic issues. We need to let our emotional intelligence speak to us. And that is why, as we speak now, with the current standard-based curriculum and the SHS curriculum that is coming up and the Common Core, what have been put in there also is soft skills, where we ensure that this time, practically, these are intangible soft skills, like tolerance, like trying to understand each other, trying to engage in public speaking, trying to also advocate, trying to respect other people's opinion. And all these things that we have put in there for the learners to learn, which is facilitated by the teachers, these are also enshrined in our constitution and other legislation within the district assembly environment. So we want to call once again on all those who matter, especially children are innocent. Facilitators as teachers are innocent. And so those who matter, especially politicians and other community leaders, to ensure that we have relative peace within the school environment.
But beyond sometimes these tribal and ethnic violence that we report on, what are some of the other factors that is inhibiting the sound development of our kids in schools? So
I will basically talk about the school and the community relationship. So we have said that it is the communities that own the school. But we have state agencies like Ghana Education Service and other auxiliary agencies of the Ministry of Education that ensure that we fast-track processes of learning within the school environment. However, sometimes you have just small conflicts like community people wanting to come and play on the school field.
Right. It's become an issue now.
It becomes a big issue.
A lot of school parks being taken away by private developers.
Unbelievable. And you even have sometimes schools that are a bit distant away from the communities. You have community members going in there to defecate in the schools, in the classrooms. And they do not care. It's just because possibly they do not have any better places of convenience.
But the school can never be your place of convenience.
Of course, but these are people that we are also saying that either they have continued the education or are still in education, have passed through the walls of the school. Yet they forget that some kind of knowledge, they have acquired some knowledge because the teachers have ensured that things within the curriculum that go to build their whole personality, aside the knowledge and skills that is acquired, and the soft skills that we are talking about, they try to imbibe them. But what happens? We want to ensure that we put ourselves together to be emotionally intelligent and not to destabilize the school environment.
I went to a school, Rage Experimental. I mean, the last time I went there, basically the entire school compound has been taken over by private development. The school PTA, they protested. They have petitioned the regional coordinating council to do something about it. The matter remains unresolved. And the lives of these kids are threatened every day by development. And sometimes you wonder, and this is a public school, sometimes you wonder the level of protection the state gives to children. Because in other countries, it is supreme. Sure. But when they come here, it's like you're on your own.
Yeah.
What is GNECC doing in this direction?
So GNECC as a civil society group is a civil society group of over 40 different NGOs, including the CBOs. And you also have the Ghana National Association of Teachers also part of GNECC. We have some objectives to ensure that the Ghanaian child goes to school, basically, and to acquire knowledge and skills to transform himself and society. However, one of the key issues we have been advocating for is that where we have the Ministry of Education allocating funding for resources within the school, i.e. capitation grant, school feeding, which is a big issue in terms of and other issues like the school infrastructure, provision of DEXs, then refurbishment of dilapidated schools, and even, come to think about it, the basics, books, pencil, erasers. You go to places, children do not have this, so they do not have relative peace.
And sometimes it actually looks like punishment to go to a public school.
Of course, but it's unfortunate. As I speak to you, our public schools are the best schools in Ghana now because you have teachers that are well trained, they have degrees, they have their second degrees, and some are even offering PhD. So as we speak, we want the kind of expertise that the teachers have acquired to imbibe them into the children, because we want to have a new look for Ghana.
Of course.
But the new look for Ghana means that our children have to be safe and sound, and within their learning space, they have to have relative peace and not a kind of conflict or confusion within their mind.
And are you getting solution to these concerns?
Yeah, but the advocacy is key on the ground. Incidentally, as a civil society group, sometimes we are confronted with funding.
Of course.
And so we expect that one of the things that the Bretton Woods institutions or the donor agency would have to be doing is to also redirect funds to civil society groups to ensure that the advocacy is strong. We monitor government projects on the ground. For instance, we talk about GALOP, the Ghana Learning Accountability Project, which the World Bank has given the government of Ghana millions of dollars to ensure that we have accountability and quality of education improved. But civil society group is limited in trying to go down there and do the monitoring. So though we are doing it, it's not on a holistic scale, but gradually we develop our own instrument, collect data, analyze it, and then we share this data with government and the World Bank to get to know what is happening.
But have you taken this advocacy to the ministry?
Yes, of course. GNECC is already part of the National Education Steering Committee, and therefore we have the national chair in the person of Mr. Joseph Lomaji that is part of that team. So there are some of the issues we table, but as a group, we still go down together with our affiliates, our DFAT, within the communities to ensure that the teaching and learning process within our learning environment is sound and safe. So one of the key goals is to ensure our children or school going in are safe. Yes, we know we have close to about 1 million of students out of school, learners out of school, but we are.
And what's the reason for them being out of school?
Yeah, but
because education at the public level is free.
Yes. Sometimes you have migrant parents.
Okay.
You also have parents that do not actually have. When you talk about the core poor, we have parents in Ghana today that cannot afford 3 square meals for their children. And
the school is supposed to provide meals for every child. The access to education is free. So the excuse.
Of course, if you talk about the school feeding program, it's a big no for us. Now, what is happening even within that sector? The school feeding program came as an intervention to help the learners to nourish, first of all, their brain.
And to encourage people to actually go to school.
To go to school, of course, that's the flip side of it. So, but incidentally, you have politicians that would like to trumpet and say, oh, this intervention has increased school enrollment. But that is not what we are looking at. We are looking at what goes into the learning output of the child, for the child to be stable in the school. But incidentally, the school feeding is nothing to write home about. You know, in Ghana now, government is owning the caterers.
Yeah.
And they cannot speak about it because they are party folks that have been given small jobs to do. However, it is only civil society group that can speak to these issues and ensure that, look, interventions that are good, that are working, have to be continued. So why not support us to work very hard and ensure that these feeding being provided to the learners are of quality? One good balanced diet for these our children will go a long way to develop their brains and to stabilize them in school, and we will have a very good career progression for these children in the school.
Before I let you go, your final words as we wrap up on this.
Yeah, so I would like to say that we actually are within the period of International Day of Education, which is always celebrated on 24th January globally. So in Ghana, the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, together with Renee Ghana Foundation, in collaboration with World Bank, celebrated that yesterday. And then the theme was learning for lasting peace. So we are saying that even though we are saying we are teaching and facilitating learning in the school environment, we want relative peace for the children so that all those kind of confusions and things get out. And the teachers themselves must also be emotionally stable. But in doing all these things, we cannot leave our social settings, the communities in which the school environment is situated, to ensure that community members also keep the peace. But as we go to election, to the polls, we expect and crave the indulgence of politicians that we are pleading with them. People that make hate speech because they are paid for have to stop. Because where school processes are truncated, the school environment is truncated, is discontinued because of violence and conflict, then it means that our children have to leave the environment. And unfortunately, sometimes our teachers are also caught in the process. Some are maimed. And unfortunately, in the last conflict that erupted in OT, a teacher lost a life. So
that's sad.
Yes, that's quite sad. So we are praying and calling upon all politicians and state actors to ensure that we have relative peace within the school environment, because the year is still ripe, and we are saying that the theme for the Global International Education Week is learning for lasting peace.
Okay.
And therefore, this has to remain in the minds of all learners, all facilitators, all politicians, and everybody as a whole.
All right, I'd like to say thank you very much, Mr. Kwesi Ayeyi, for coming to Oyeyi. He is the Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, and they are advocating for safe environment for our children to learn, and of course in harmony.